team lost position with the introduction of new services to the market on World Post Day, marked across the globe under the theme Posts Claim Their Places in the Changing Communication Landscape. The 6 p.m. LTM TV News takes keen interest in the art of letter writing and the drastic change that the postal services have been confronting since the advent of technology. And sports, the indomitable Lions of Cameroon sharpen skills ahead of the October 11 friendly in Belgium, preparing the den occupants and owners for the 2018 World Cup qualifiers. Those were the headlines. A very warm welcome to Friday's edition of the LTM Television 6 p.m. News live from Douala. Auditors and public finance stakeholders have met in the nation's political capital. This was to talk on the importance of acquiring program budgeting skills. Ahmini Luga completes that story for the LTM TV News Central Desk.
The Director of Budget in the Ministry of Finance, Samba Antoine Felix, on behalf of Finance Minister, recalled that training personnel on program budgeting was not new to his ministry. Like any reform and law, there are always hitches in implementation, with the results-driven budget being an example. It took effect on January 1, 2013, on the strength of the revolutionary 2007 law instituting a new finance regime for the country. Samba Antoine reveals that it has not been smooth implementing the reform, with staff yet to master the program budget management information system. We would, however, recall that the recent workshop was an organization for participants to better understand the nitty-gritty of the execution of program budgets, the know-how of stakeholders in the chain, the need for them to get abreast with the rules and responsibilities of each actor, understand with the different procedures of the chain, and above all, master the implementation of the setup. The Director of Budget stressed that since takeoff stakeholders in various ministries meet yearly to evaluate how they fared, there is need to jointly look at where each other slipped so as to seek ways of righting the wrongs. As at now, focus is on better tackling the 2016-2019 triennial budgets.
Taking it to the southwest region of Cameroon, the population of Kosala now have a new market. The market that costed the council close to 300 million CFA francs will save the inhabitants of Kosala the trouble of trekking long distances to Fiango Market for their shopping. Georgia Bagan reporting for LTM TV News Southwest.
The Kumba 2 Council Mayor, Dobegan Martin, has inaugurated the Kosala Market in Kumbas recently. The exercise took place under the watchful eyes of the councillors and the entire population of Kosala, who were in dire need of a market. The market that may cost a whopping amount of more than 300 million francs. For now, as revealed by the Lord Mayor, is intended to satisfy the Kosala residents who have been traveling and trekking for distances to the Fiango market, costing them much money on transportation.
I think it will be of immense economic importance to the council. First, the people of Kosala, not just Kosala, the people of Kumba 2, they badly need another market. You can see for yourself the population that was in the market.
The economic situation is expected to change for the better, as nearness to the raw materials vis-a-vis the buyers and sellers is now incorporated and shall go a long way to alleviate poverty, as we got it from some happy traders.
Today is making 1 month.
And what are your impressions? Are you living around here?
Yeah, I stay around Kosala.
Yes, and what can you tell the Cameroonians concerning this launching? Are you happy?
Yes, I'm very happy.
Why?
I'm very impressed.
Why?
Because of the seriousness and what the mayor is doing to develop this particular area, Kosala.
Okay. So are you happy about the launching?
Well, I'm really happy because at least it has really brought the people together, and we no more strength from here to Fiango Market if we want to have some basic needs.
Moreover, the aspect of security is eminent, considering the fact that underworld kingpins harass passers-by in Kosala unannounced, cutting away with valuables. For this reason, the Lord Mayor told the press that measures shall be stepped up to ensure a serene business atmosphere because of the new market. The first phase of the market has taken off following the launching. This shall shortly precede the second phase, to be sponsored by FACOM, the support fund for local councils. From this giant effort, council revenue shall be generated to assist the smooth running of the Kumba 2 Council, which has little or no avenue for income generation.
George Ebang reporting for LTM TV News Southwest. We stay with you to talk education this time, where teachers and education stakeholders in the basic and secondary education sectors of the Kondo TT and the Southwest region have recently held their zonal meeting. The Lee private education actors voted for hard work, which will bring about future successes, as you say in the following report. George Ebang.
A zonal seminar for lay private schools holding at Kondo TT on September 10, 2015 under the theme Collective Promotion and Remedial Pedagogy has just ended. The palaver that is first of its kind, bringing the basic and secondary education authorities, witnessed the presence of the divisional officer for Kondo TT, represented by his assistant, including the divisional delegates of basic and secondary education for Indian. During the wrap session, the representative of the divisional officer gave a briefing that encouraged the educational family to forge ahead for future successes.
This seminar is going to produce a lot of knowledge that you need to take home into your various classrooms and teach our children.
Corroborating was the divisional delegates of basic and secondary education who were present during the launching and the closing, as our camera shots caught up with the secondary boss for Indian.
And for any teacher to score 100%, he needs to proportionately share his energy or our energy in that categorization.
As a freshman just voted in, the zonal coordinator of lay private education for Memetu Andian said this is just the beginning.
Constantly or yearly, we are going to be organizing such a seminar, because we have discovered that the teachers, the participants who have come for this meeting are very happy, and that such a seminar will help them to bring up our children.
In our investigations, we found out that some proprietresses as participants have been praying for such a conclave.
Yes, what I've learned here, I'm going to bring my teachers together, teach them, so that they too be able to know that these are the things I was supposed to do in the field. But not everybody will be opportune to read. I've gathered more than enough, because the seminar is talking about collective promotion. Yeah, how to teach the children in such a way that no child will be able to repeat in class.
Participants were drilled on topics like teachers' code of conduct and practice, strategies for teaching sound and word building, and the teaching of handwriting in primary schools. Principals, head teachers, and teachers were all present in workshops, as the exposés revitalized their skills, which at the close of the exercise gave impetus to a hopeful strategy for success this academic year.
Teachers of the chief town of Meme, Kumba, were not left out of the October 5 World Teachers' Day commemoration. The instructors gathered at the Kumba Grandstand under the chairmanship of the Meme Senior Divisional Officer David Arman Kubert, and the award of medals and attestations were also part of the ceremony.
Empowering teachers and building a sustainable society is the theme for this year's Teachers' Day, as they thronged the esplanade at the grandstand in Kumba for the 2015 International Teachers' Day. The man at the command button was the Senior Divisional Officer from Meme Kurbutaman David, who in his speech presented an exuberant discourse.
That for Cameroon to become an emerging nation in 2035, the teachers must be at the forefront of sustainable development and sustainable society.
As the two delegates of basic and secondary education presented their exhorting speeches, the education family was flabbergasted, responding with an applause. Moreover, what made it more magnificent is not only the march past, but also the award of medals to meritorious long-serving teachers, numbering 1,000 in the whole national territory. In Kumba, like elsewhere, the education class happily received these medals given to a handful chosen from both the basic and secondary pedagogics. To begin with, the head of state's representative Kulbus Aman gave the first three as the recipients responded in the affirmative in an interview.
Very elated, and it came as a big surprise to me because I've put in quite a good number of years, and I'm very thankful to the head of state who gave these instructions.
I think if I have anything to tell the world is to say that I am happy because of recognition given by the state in respect of our profession.
Feel extremely excited.
Why?
Very happy.
Why?
Because it is a sign of acknowledgement and acknowledging the fact that I have done my job well.
Finally, a farewell done wishes rush jammed the arena with multiple bouquets of flowers in a move to bid congratulations to colleagues who had received the medals, as singing, sporting and a marching parade crowned the activities of the day. This is how the International Teachers' Day took place in Kumba.
After showing much excitement over the celebration of their day, World Teachers' Day, under the theme Empowering Teachers, Building Sustainable Societies, we sought to find out from a teacher in the economic metropolis of Cameroon the evolution of teaching in Cameroon.
To the best of my knowledge, the teaching profession has not evolved that much. Evolved that much in the sense that despite the hue and cry by the government about evolution in the teaching profession, but I want to think that there is rather a depression, rather a digression in the profession. Because when I look at what my teachers did yesterday and what I am doing today as a teacher, I realize that there is a vast difference. And especially when I look at what my colleagues are doing in other areas, I realize that there is a sharp drop in terms of quality. And we can read this across when we look at the children, the performance of the children at diverse levels. Though some opinion hold it that the entry age of children today is different from what happened or prevailed yesteryears. But again, there are other contrary opinions to that effect, because if you look at the availability of study manuals which we have today, these things do not exist yesterday. We thought that these things were going to be like a booster to the kids, but rather they are deterrent to the kids. I want to use the case of the internet, which we think that would have been a booster in the teaching learning process, but rather it has a lot of negative biases. Well, I'm not campaigning against that, but this is my personal opinion. I want to think that it counts. I want to think that it's helping students either in the primary or in the secondary sector to become very lazy. And then teachers as well, I want to think that even the quality of teachers we have today is far lower than what we had yesterday. Because if you listen to a teacher today, most of the teachers speak today, leaves one with the impression that they themselves, we as teachers, we need a lot to do. We have a lot to do. Because if I listen to my primary school teacher who taught me many years ago, and I look at his academic qualification and the way he expressed himself, and I look at myself today as an example, I look at the way I express myself and compare to my teacher who never had my level, I realize that there's something that I need to do more. And I think that is the same thing that I want, the same plea that I want to send across to my colleagues, that we have to do a lot more as teachers so that we continue to meet the expectations of the society. Because I strongly believe that the society depends on the teachers. Because we are the nation builders. The children we teach today will grow up to be the leaders of tomorrow. And so we cannot afford to compromise the quality of education.
Head teacher Eta Lawrence talking to LTM TV News, Jean Yambor. World Post Day is celebrated every year on October 9, and this year we take a look at letter writing. We're trying to take a look at the theme of the day and some of the new postal services. The post office was one of the most important places one could visit in terms of communication yesteryears. As we observe World Post Day this October 9, 2015, it is an opportunity for us to review the theme selected, which focuses on the changing communication landscape. Indira Ayuk takes a look at that for the LTM TV News.
The post office has been existing for as long as we can remember, offering diverse services to the public on a daily basis. The posting of letters, sales of stamps of different kinds, the payment of salaries to civil servants, and only very recently money transfer services and lots more. Despite the range of benefits the public can derive from postal services, changing times and modernity are taking a toll on the services of the post office. People seem not to be interested in these services anymore, as many now believe they are archaic, take a lot of time, and are not very reliable. This year's theme of the World Post Day appeals to users of the post office and most importantly officials of the post office to sit up before the changing communication landscape swallows them. Posts claim their place in the changing communication landscape is a theme which does not only push for innovations in the postal services sector, but a strong call for competition with other communication spheres. The post office, which was championed by the posting of letters, has lost about 80% of its clients with the advent of modern communication technologies, including the internet, mobile smartphones, and other electronic gadgets. To stand up to the competition, therefore, the post office has had to create new services, including money transfer services, which are affordable, hence keeping some of their clients with them. The sale of stamps, which was championed by letter posting, has dropped drastically. This year's theme therefore appeals to postal experts to do all within their reach to innovate so that they can compete or stand up to a fast-changing communication landscape and eventually help them keep some of their clients who are, by all chances, seduced by the modern modes of communication.
From every indication, the postal services are not ready to allow the advent of technology steal the show. Indira Ayuk reporting for LTM TV News. Letter writing used to be a point of connection for people across the globe and willing to close up the distance separating them. It was commonplace to find almost every citizen own a post box and itchy to always change or maybe check this post box after 2 weeks. But what happened suddenly and when last did you write a letter is what we sought to answer in the following report.
Writing a letter used to be the only way people used to communicate with one another in the past. The use of paper and ink transmitted emotions of the heart, feelings of the body, and tensions of the brain from writer to receiver, no matter the distance. One could write to a friend using expressions like, I've been under the weather lately, meaning I've been very sick. This form of writing, anyway, could only be used in informal letters. The art of writing has, however, been consumed with the advent of technology following the great use of phones, messages, computers, and the internet. People seldom write letters to one another because it takes a longer time to arrive to the recipient than an email gets to the destination instantly. Good news, technology has solved the postal lapse. But many still miss the traditional and old-fashioned art of letter writing that sparked emotions like you're the sunshine of my life, you're my all, making the recipient feel awesome. Writing a letter used to be the only way people used to communicate with one another in the past. The use of paper and ink transmitted emotions of the heart, feelings of the body, and intentions of the brain from writer to receiver, no matter the distance. One could write to a friend using expressions like, I've been under the weather lately, meaning I've been very sick. This form of writing, however, could only be used in informal letters. The art of writing has, however, been consumed with the advent of technology following the great use of phones, messages, computers, the internet, just to name but this. People seldom write letters to one another because it takes a longer time to arrive at the receiver than an email that gets to destination instantly. Good news, technology has solved the postal lapse, but many still miss the traditional and old-fashioned art of letter writing that sparked emotions like, you're the sunshine of my life, you're my all, making the receiver feeling awesome.
Sincere apologies for that lapse. With the involvement of technology, it is necessary to outline the drastic change in postal services. Most which were transported by hand has now been done otherwise. Emily Luga takes a look at how these mails are transmitted other than the hands.
Before now, the first post office of Cameroon was a two-room building used by the British until independence in 1960. We would recall that this was put in place by the Germans. Post office, which was recently closed to mark the 50th anniversary of the reunification of Cameroon. But after this occasion and celebrations, the post office revamped as the Post and Telecommunication Museum. Looking at the services in the past, it should be stated that the post office was one used in the transfer of mails and postcards, an activity which as at now has drastically dropped, especially with the quick evolution of technology. Today, individuals resent from posting letters as they now have facilities in posting online mails and even videos. This alone has therefore affected the postal services in Cameroon, which is diversified in money transactions and a whole lot. The post office today also displays the evolution of telegraph equipment in the world, from a Morse key invented in 1937 to a telephone fax machine which started in 1979. And to note, in a few years, the first post office of Cameroon will become a full-fledged museum for post and telecommunication items.
No joke about it, Ahmed Iluga, the postal services are not asleep. Maybe we should think about writing the letters so we can go back to the traditional old way of reaching to people across the globe. If you're just joining us, you're watching the LTMTV News live from Douala. Talking sports, Cameroon's Issa Hayatou and president of the Confederation of African Football is now interim head of the world's football governing body FIFA after FIFA's president Sepp Blatter was given a 90-day suspension by the ethics committee of the body. Martha Ako completes that story for the newscast.
In many ways, this was probably the news that Cameroon's Issa Hayatou privately dreaded. Some 111 years on from its founding, FIFA is now being technically run by an African for the first time, news which should, of course, be welcomed on the continent. But the acting FIFA president could never be accused of courting the media, preferring instead to make his distance as large as possible. Now, though, a man who is far happier in the back rooms of power has been thrust into the limelight. For the next 90 days, while Sepp Blatter is suspended, he will be center stage and he may well find the spotlight more heated than ever. Following Blatter's suspension by FIFA's Ethics Committee, the Confederation of African Football President has taken interim control of FIFA in his capacity as FIFA's most senior vice president. But Hayatou too has been engulfed in corruption scandals. Chief amongst these is his reprimand by the International Olympic Committee in 2011 over allegations he received kickbacks from the defunct sports marketing company ISL between 1989 and 1999. According to the International Olympic Committee, Hayatou admitted receiving a payment but denied any corruption, saying the money was a gift for his federation. Then there was the allegations heard by British members of Parliament at a Culture, Media and Sports Committee in the House of Commons in 2011 that Hayatou had taken bribes related to Qatar's 2022 World Cup bid, which he again denied.
Drawing curtains for this edition, the indomitable Lions of Cameroon will lock horns with the Super Eagles of Nigeria in a friendly on October 11. The match to take place in Belgium serves as preparation for the Lions who are engaged in the qualifiers for the 2018 World Cup next month. We have details with you once again, Martha Ako.
Ahead of the encounter, team coach Volker Finke published a list of 25 players, out of whom 19 responded present for the training camp currently taking place in Belgium. The encounter will be the 20th, and given the rivalry in football between Cameroon and Nigeria, the match is surely not going to have anything to do with a friendly, as the engagement is going to be intense. Meanwhile, the venue for the encounter has been changed from the Van Roy of Dendeloy to Edmond Marsden Stadium in Molenbeek, still in Belgium. The Lions continue training at the Jolie Bois Sports Complex in Waterloo in preparation for the encounter. The training marked by exercises on the field and the gymnasium was punctuated yesterday by a warm-up match against the leader of the Belgian Championship, KVO Astenden. Speculations are however high that Eno Eyong Takang, Joel Matip and Chupo Moting might not play Sunday's match because of injury.
And that does it for Friday's edition of the 6 p.m. LTM TV News. But before we part ways, a recap of the major stories. Post claim lost position with the introduction of new services to the market on World Post Day, marked across the globe under the theme Post claimed your places in the changing communication landscape. The 6 p.m. LTM TV newscast takes keen interest on the art of letter writing and the drastic change the postal services have been facing since the advent of technology. And in sports, Indomitable Lions of Cameroon sharpen skills ahead of the October 11 friendly in Belgium, preparing the den occupants and owners for the 2018 World Cup qualifiers. And that's how we saw the 6 p.m. edition of the news this Friday, October 9, 2015. We thank you for your kind attention. God willing, we'll be with you again on Monday at exactly 6 p.m. Meet Marta Ako for the weekender at exactly 8 p.m. And do well to spend lovely moments in the company of programs on the LTM television. Good evening.